This is a stimulus check update and daily news report. Got the latest updates for you. So President Biden went and gave a big speech in Georgia about voting rights. Joe Manchin commented about that speech, basically saying he is still not on board for voting rights, just as he wasn't on board for the Build Back Better plan. I'll give you the latest stimulus check articles like this. 2 new $1,400 stimulus checks might come next month. See if you're eligible. California's last stimulus check is going out, and there might be a third round of stimulus checks for California. I'll also play you a heated exchange between Dr. Fauci and Senator Rand Paul about what's going on with COVID. You don't want to miss that one, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. So a voting rights push as states make voting harder. So basically, President Biden gave a big fiery speech in Georgia about voting rights, how he wants to change the filibuster, among a few other things, making his stance clear. Here is a video clip explaining more of what's going on.
Are you on the side of Dr. Martin Luther King or George Wallace? That question from President Biden today, as he called for carving out an exception to the filibuster to pass new voting rights laws. Speaking in Georgia, in the cradle of the civil rights movement, he said Republicans left his party with no other option after they blocked all attempts to pass the bills. The president also accusing the GOP of trying to suppress votes.
It's no longer about who gets to vote. It's about making it harder to vote. It's about who gets to count the vote and whether your vote counts at all.
Ending the filibuster, or at least changing the rules for this case, would require 60 votes in the Senate, which Democrats appear not to have. 19 states enacted nearly 36 laws last year that made it harder to vote. That's according to the Brennan Center for Justice. Republicans control most of the states where those laws passed. In Texas, lawmakers banned voting measures put in place during the pandemic, including drive-through polling places and 24-hour voting. In Florida, they limited the use of ballot drop boxes and added ID requirements and other rules. In Georgia, where the president spoke today, lawmakers also limited drop boxes and made it illegal to hand out food and water to people waiting in long lines to vote. Those just a few of the examples. CNBC senior White House correspondent Kayla Tausche on our top story tonight. Kayla.
Shep, President Biden pounded the podium in Georgia today in no uncertain terms, advocating to change those Senate rules to pass 2 voting rights bills with 50 instead of 60 votes. The Freedom to Vote Act would set rules for the mechanics of registration, absentee voting, and ID laws. The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act aims to prevent discrimination at the polls by requiring federal approval to change certain state election laws. Republicans have suggested instead modernizing the 1887 law on certifying electoral votes. But today, Mr. Biden, in a fiery speech, said there are no other options.
I've been having these quiet conversations with the members of Congress for the last 2 months. I'm tired of being quiet.
On the ground in Georgia, many activist groups were absent, protesting what they called performance art and demanding less talk from the president and more action.
He told us and the rest of America that he was a master statesman and he knew the nuances and the rules of that body and that he could negotiate and get his colleagues, whom he often terms as friends, to consensus.
Mr. Biden's challenge isn't reaching across the aisle. Once again, it's unifying his own party, where there's not enough support to remove that 60-vote threshold outright. And while much attention is paid to the opposition of Senators Manchin and Sinema, they're not the only ones. Arizona's Mark Kelly and New Hampshire's Jeanne Shaheen have suggested more modest changes. And even Delaware's Chris Coons, a close ally of the president's, told Politico he's still weighing what the right path is. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has set a January 17th deadline to vote on changing those rules. President Biden says history will be the judge of that vote.
This seems to be another issue where Democrats are fully on board, Republicans are fully against it, but there's just Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema who are against it as well. So it doesn't matter how many rallies that President Biden does or that the other Democrats push for. If Joe Manchin is not on board, it's not happening. So Manchin doubles down on filibuster ahead of Biden's speech. Here's a quick 50-second clip of what Joe Manchin says.
Senator, good morning.
Hey guys, I don't really have anything.
You plan on watching and listening to what the president says today?
Oh, love to. If I'm not in committee meetings, I will be. Yeah.
Anything he can say to change your mind on filibuster and procedure?
filibuster is what we have, our rules. We need some good rule changes to make the place work better, but getting rid of the filibuster doesn't make it work better.
Do you get any pressure from your constituents back home on that issue?
Well, no, I mean, what they know about the filibuster is basically what Bob Byrd has educated people on over the years. And the filibuster is what makes the Senate hopefully work when it's supposed to work. We need some good rules changes, and we can do that together. But you change your rules with 2/3 of the people that are present. So it's Democrats and Republicans changing the rules to make the place work better. Getting rid of the filibuster does not make it work better.
Where do things stand with your talks with Senator Collins on the electoral tax?
We're working on that. That's a bipartisan group. We're working on that. Some good stuff.
If you're getting a little bit of deja vu, it's not just you. Whatever King Manchin wants, King Manchin gets. So same as with the Build Back Better plan, all the Democrats were on board for the Build Back Better plan, despite Joe Manchin. And Joe Manchin said no to the Build Back Better, and the Build Back Better plan did not happen. So all the Democrats are on board for voting rights and changing the filibuster, but King Manchin is not on board. Therefore, probably going to happen. This bill is going to get crushed as well by King Manchin. So switching gears here, Rand Paul rips Fauci following latest hearing of fireworks. He doesn't want debate because he is science. You don't want to miss this. Check this out between Dr. Fauci and Rand Paul.
Fauci, the idea that a government official like yourself would claim unilaterally to represent science, that any criticism of you would be considered a criticism of science itself, is quite dangerous. Central planning, whether it be of the economy or of science, is risky because of the fallibility of the planner. It would not be so catastrophic if the planner were simply one physician in Peoria. Then the mistakes would only affect that physician's patients, the people who chose that physician. But when the planner is a government official like yourself who rules by mandate, the errors are compounded and become much more harmful. A planner who believes he is the science leads to an arrogance that justifies, in his mind, using government resources to smear and to destroy the reputations of other scientists who disagree with him. In an email exchange with Dr. Collins, you conspire, and I quote here directly from the email, to create a quick and devastating published takedown of 3 prominent epidemiologists from Harvard, Oxford, and Stanford. Apparently there's a lot of fringe epidemiologists at Harvard, Oxford, and Stanford. And you quote in the email that they, or from Dr. Collins, and you agree that they are fringe. And immediately there's this takedown effort. A published takedown, though, doesn't exactly conjure up the image of a dispassionate scientist. Instead of engaging them on the merits, you and Dr. Collins sought to smear them as fringe and take them down. And not in journals, in lay press. This is not only antithetical to the scientific method, it's the epitome of cheap politics, and it's reprehensible, Dr. Fauci. Do you really think it's appropriate to use your $420,000 salary to attack scientists that disagree with you?
The email you're referring to was an email of Dr. Collins to me. If you look at the email
that you responded to and hurried up and said, I can do it, we got something in Wired magazine.
No, I think in usual fashion, Senator, you are distorting everything about me.
Did you ever object to Dr. Collins' characterization of them as fringe? Did you write back to Dr. Collins and say, no, they're not fringe, they're esteemed scientists, and it would be beneath me
I did not
to do that? You responded to him that you would do it, and you immediately got an article in Wired, and you sent it back to him and said, hey, look, I've got him, I nailed him in Wired of all scientific publications.
That's not what went on.
You
there
did.
you go again.
That
You
was your
just do
response.
the same thing every hearing.
That was your response. And
So-
this wasn't the only time. So your desire to take
You're
down
absolutely
people.
incorrect. As usual, Senator, you are
No.
incorrect almost everything you
Well,
said.
no, you deny, but the emails tell the truth of this.
No.
This wasn't the only time. Your desire to take down those who disagree with you didn't stop with Harvard, Oxford, and Stanford. You conspired with Peter Daszak, who you communicated with privately, and other members of the scientific community that wrote opinion pieces for Nature. 5 of them signed a paper for Nature, an opinion piece. 17 signed a paper that called it conspiracy theory, the idea that the virus could have originated in the lab. Do you think words like conspiracy theory should be in a scientific paper?
Senator, I never used that word when I was referring to it. You're distorting virtually everything.
Did you communicate with the 5 scientists who wrote the opinion piece in Nature where they were describing, oh, there's no way this could have come
That was
from the lab.
not me. What I did.
Did you talk with any of those scientists
but
privately?
you keep distorting the truth. It is stunning how you do that.
Did you talk to any of the scientists privately
Yes.
who wrote the opinion? You did.
Well,
what were they telling you privately?
Well, let me explain. You know, you're going back to that original discussion when I brought together a group of people to look at every possibility with an open mind. So not only are you distorting it, you are completely turning it around, as
Were most
you
of the
usually
scientists
do.
that came to you privately, did they come to you privately and say, no way this came from the lab? Or was their initial impression, Dr. Gary and others that were involved, was their initial impression actually that it looked very suspicious for a virus that came from a lab?
Senator, we are here at a committee to look at a virus now that has killed almost 900,000 people. And the purpose of the committee was to try and get things out, how we can help to get the American public. And you keep coming back to personal attacks on me that have absolutely no relevance to reality.
Do you think anybody has had more influence over our
let me
response to
finish.
this than you have? Do you think
Madam
it's a great
Chair, can I-
success? Do you think it's a great success what's happened so
Right.
far? Do you think
You-
the
you have
lockdowns
said-
were good for our kids? Do you think we slowed down the death rate? More people have died now under President Biden than did under President Trump. You are the one responsible. You are the architect. You are the lead architect for the response from the government, and now 800,000 people have died.
Right.
Do you think it's a winning success, what you've advocated for government?
Senator, first of all, if you look at everything that I said, you accuse me of in a monolithic way telling people what they need to do. Everything that I've said has been in support of the CDC guidelines. Wear a mask, get boosted.
And you've advocated to make it coercive and
Take a
done
look
through
at
force, and
everything
you've
that I've
advocated that it
said.
be done by mandate.
Right.
You've advocated that your infallible opinion be dictated by law.
Right. So again, Madam Chair, I would like just a couple of minutes because this happens all the time. You personally attack me, and with absolutely not a shred of evidence of anything you say. So I would like to make something clear to the committee. He's doing this for political reasons. What you need to do is, he said in front of this committee.
You think your takedown of three prominent epidemiologists was not political?
You don't want me
That
to
was my
finish because you
question.
know what I'm going to say.
That was the question. Were
Senator,
you
we
political
will-
in taking
at this-
down
at
these
this
three
point-
prominent
Senator
epidemiologists?
Paul, if you would please, I'm going to allow Dr. Fauci to respond. We have a number of senators who would like to ask questions, and I would like him to be able to respond. Please do so.
So the last time we had a committee, or the time before, he was accusing me of being responsible for the death of 4 to 5 million people, which is really irresponsible. And I say, why is he doing that? There are two reasons why that's really bad. The first is it distracts from what we're all trying to do here today, is get our arms around the epidemic and the pandemic that we're dealing with, not something imaginary. Number two, what happens when he gets out and accuses me of things that are completely untrue is that all of a sudden that kindles the crazies out there, and I have threats upon my life, harassment of my family and my children with obscene phone calls because people are lying about me. Now, I guess you could say, well, that's the way it goes. I can take the hit. Well, it makes a difference because, as some of you may know, just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, on December 21st, a person was arrested who was on their way from Sacramento to Washington, D.C., at a speed stop in Iowa. And the police asked him where he was going, and he was going to Washington, D.C. to kill Dr. Fauci. And they found in his car an AR-15 and multiple magazines of ammunition because he thinks that maybe I'm killing people. So I ask myself, why would Senator want to do this? So go to Rand Paul website, and you see Fire Dr. Fauci with a little box that says, contribute here. You can do $5, $10, $20, $100. So you are making a catastrophic epidemic for your political gain. So the
You
only
have
thing
politically attacked
that I
your
can-
colleagues, and in a politically reprehensible
The
way,
only
you've
thing that I
attacked their
could think of-
reputations.
Okay,
You won't
we-
defend it.
No,
You won't
well,
argue it.
I'm
You'll just
sorry,
simply
that we're
turn around
going
the
to
attack.
continue this hearing. We
Yeah.
have a number of questions from
Just
other
one
senators.
more minute, please.
Well,
if
Dr.
my-
Fauci, I really appreciate your response, but we do have a number of questions from senators, and we do have a second round, and I'm being asked to make sure that everybody has their time, so thank you.
Thank you very much for allowing me, Madam Chair.
We will move to Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Fauci.
Wow, that was really heated. What are your thoughts on this? Who do you stand by, Dr. Fauci or Senator Rand Paul? What's your opinion on all that? Let me know down in the comments below. All right, switching gears again here, how Biden might approach student loan forgiveness in 2022. So it points out here that the Biden administration announced more than $11 billion in student loan forgiveness. While that may sound like a hefty amount, 2021 cancellations only accounted for 1% of all outstanding federal student loan debt and totaling near $1.8 trillion today. During his presidential campaign, Biden said he would support forgiving at least $10,000 in federal student loan debts per borrower. Since his inauguration, he's made more targeted jabs at student debt crisis, but his tune changed about all-encompassing debt cancellation. So even though he promised $10,000 in student loan debt, basically more or less a bribe to a lot of Americans, I think it's 37 million of them, saying, if you vote for me, I'll give you $10,000. It's basically giving $10,000 away. So that is a huge promise, and he did not follow through with that. So looks like President Biden is not going to go for the $10,000 federal student loan debt forgiveness route, but more of a targeted route that we'll see coming forward. Let me know your thoughts on that. What do you think about President Biden saying that he was going to forgive $10,000? Now he is not going to do that. That's a big deal. I think that's a pretty big deal. Moving on, so California stimulus checks, last Golden State payments set to go out. So the last round of checks. So this is for the second round of of Golden State stimulus checks of $600 and $1,100 went out yesterday. Yesterday was the last day that they went out for zip codes 928 to 999, but will it be the last time? Maybe not. Californians could be getting a stimulus check due to budget surplus. So in the laws of California, if there is a surplus, then it has to go back to the taxpayer. So Governor Newsom's budget proposal, which he unveiled Monday, projects a massive $45 billion surplus for the year. That means they set a budget and they were $45 billion with a B over it. And the state is obligated to give about $2.6 billion back to the taxpayers. So basically, all of the taxpayers in California are going to get $2.6 billion, however the math works. They didn't set amount yet, but they're going to get another either tax rebate or they'll call it a stimulus check, basically the same thing. It's pretty big. All right, so child tax credit payments, letter sent to millions. Make sure you know what the envelope looks like to get your cash. So yeah, if you got child tax credit payments, you're going to get a letter, and then January 24th is when you could file your taxes to get the rest of that child tax credit payment. If you're missing a few child tax credit payments, you're going to get it all figured out on January 24th, but be aware there could be delays of that. And 2 new $1,400 checks might come next month. See if you're eligible. So this is just a completely false headline. So this is talking about the child tax credit, which are not $1,400, but basically saying that if the Build Back Better plan or if the child tax credit, maybe even standalone, is passed now in February, you'll get double the child tax credit to make up for January. But child tax credits aren't $1,400. So this article is completely false. But anyways, that is all the stimulus news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Oh, sorry guys, I didn't see that. Can I tell you something? What I want to do is go to the moon. I need to go to the moon. Alright. What do you want? Tell me in the comments below and see what you want. If you want to do something, then accomplishment. Do what you want, because that after you get too old to Not do what you want. Oh, bye. The moon. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your support. I will be announcing another $200 to my subscribers in just a few days, so I'll stay tuned for that. Probably the next day or two, I'll figure all the details out and do that, so be aware. And yeah, if you want to check out my latest video on my other channels, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.